Hey guys, welcome back to Maelstrom Gaming Studios. I'm Craig, and today we're going to talk about my experience bringing 4 Hierodules to an RTT. This took place just a little bit ago. I just ran this list as something for fun. A lot of this tournament stuff is prep for LVO, which I'm not going to. So I just thought I'd have some fun with the list. So if you want to listen to everything about the list that I brought and how it actually performed, stay tuned later in this video and I'll talk about all about that. Before we dive in, do like and subscribe to stay up to date on all of our content here at Maelstrom Gaming Studios. And if you want to help support us just a little bit more, we do have an Etsy shop and you can become a member. Members get access to our Discord, member exclusive videos, and many other perks like that. So check it out in the description down below. Now, with all that out of the way, let's dive into today's video. All right, so we went to a tournament. Like I said, this was a RTT as prep for LVO. There's a lot of guys in our area who are going to it. So there's been a lot of RTTs lately, and I'm not going to LVO. So I thought, why not just have some fun with these tournaments, bring some lists. I'm not trying to win. I'm just there to, have a good time, maybe skew some lists and just see what opponents bring. So this was 26 players. There was a very good variety of opponents. There's one other Tyranid player, some Votann, some Chaos Demons, mix of the two, Knights, Imperial Knights, Eldar, Marine. Sisters. I think every faction in some capacity was represented except for AdMech. I think AdMech was the only faction that wasn't represented there. And Gene Stealer Cult. Yeah, so great variety overall. So it was a player place terrain. That seems to be the common theme going forward with all these tournaments. So that, just a little background on the list. So what I brought to my list, I like to call this list, I like big bugs and I cannot lie, as a joke there. Unfortunately, the list names didn't pop up when people viewed the list, so I was a little bummed. I thought they did. So this consisted of a spearhead and a patrol, and I tried out High Fleet Jormungandr for the first time in a tournament for me. So my HQs, again broken up into 2 detachments, was a Neurothrope with the Synaptic Tendrils and then a Broodlord. My troops were 2 units of 3 warriors with dual bone swords and death spitters, and then a unit of 10 Hormagaunts. Elites, I had a unit of 3 Zoanthropes and a Malice Scepter for some psychic support, because I gotta have psychic. Fast attack, I did have the Parasite of Mortrex with Alien Cunning. He came, he did his things throughout the game. Nothing too crazy, but he did what he needed to. And then the real reason, we brought 3 Scythe Hierodules. So one was a Synapse creature, one had Enraged Reserves, which is where they double their wounds to determine what bracket they're on. And one had Dermic Symbiosis, so a 4-up invone all the time. Finally, I brought a Barbed Hierodule with Voracious Ammunition, and that upgrade was really good on the Barbed Hierodule. So really, just big bugs. The whole thought is that being in Jormungandr, having a Malice Scepter, and having that many Toughness 8 wounds, I think it was 80, it's like 87, some Toughness 8 wounds, so it's a lot of durability that your opponent has to chew through. And it proved to be, for most people, is just too much for a lot of armies to deal with. Well, we'll see. Also, for the Jormungandr trait, I did take the OBSEC monsters as the secondary trait, so that is that. So they had the -1 to hit and OBSEC. So some game recaps. My first game was against Dark Angels. This was a mixed list, so he had some Deathwing. He also had some bikes and stuff mixed in there. Big block of Deathwing Knights. I think this is the first time in a while I have fought a 10-man block of Deathwing Knights. Support characters, he had Chapter Master, Apothecary, Librarian. He had some bikes, Outriders, Black Knights, multi-melta attack bikes, and some basic troops and stuff. For my secondaries, I took Cranial Feasting because he had a ton of characters, Psychic Interrogation, and banners, because it was a mission where I could set up 3 banners on turn 1 and hold those with relative ease. This match was so painfully slow. Not because of the way the rolls are, I should say it was because of the rolls, not because of my opponent or anything, but two of my side Hierodules, or two of my side Hierodules and my Malice Scepter slammed into his knights. And between just poor rolls from both of us or great saves from both of us, whatever the case was, it took until the bottom of turn 3 before the first unit on either army was killed. It was such a slow grind. It got to the point where he just didn't have enough to deal with all of the Hierodules and all of the psychic power I was pushing into him. An example of why things were slow is between my Zoanthrope Super Smite, my Malice Scepter getting both of its powers off, and then getting the bonus mortals on all of those. All of that being directed into the knights. I did 2 wounds to 1 knight between all of those. He was just making an insane amount of feel no pains. And then I was making really good invuln saves when it mattered, and my own feel no pain. He was making, I could only wound him on 4s, and you only have so many attacks with these monsters. So it was a slow, brutal match, but it came in the end. It was a Tyranid victory. He just didn't have the resources to deal with the amount of bugs that I had. So perfect 100. This is actually the first 100 I think I've achieved in a very long time, probably since towards the beginning of 9th was the last time I got a perfect 100. Even then, I don't remember clearly what that game was. So great game there. Had fun. It was nice playing some Dark Angels. Haven't played against them in a little while. Game 2 was against the Adeptus Sororitas, Sisters of Battle. This was a loss. So I knew when I saw the matchup that this guy, he was trying to win this whole thing. And between playing Data Scry Salvage, so the 4 objectives across the side and 1 in each, him just having sisters against my bugs, lots of multi-meltas, Retributors, Repentia, and Sephirim, which are the jump guys with the sword, or girls with the swords and stuff. I knew going into this match that this was the worst possible draw of any army combination with any mission that I could have had the whole day. So there's no chance. I knew it. I knew there was no chance. So we're just having fun with this game. I killed a lot of his models. I had pretty much, I didn't max out all of my secondaries, but I think I got roughly 12 points on each of them on average, just from sheer killing and doing well in Psychic, and his denying wasn't going well, which is always nice. And he had a lot of characters, so Cranial Feasting did well. But the primary, he just being able to put OBSEC on whatever unit he wants and throwing them up onto an objective and just being able to outnumber me on my objectives on a hold 2, hold 3, hold more, with 4 of them being in the no man's land like it was. I did my absolute best with Overwatch, and I just didn't have the resources to do it, which was fine. Big thing that happened was I forgot that you could use 2 Miracle Dice on a charge. I thought you could only use 1 on a charge. So he had a 10-inch charge all scoped out for my Zoanthropes, and I thought, he's got a 5 on the Miracle Dice. Here, he has 2 5s for Miracle Dice. He's not gonna, do that, because I thought he had to use a 5 and then roll another 5. No, you can use both of them. So, lesson learned. I haven't played Sisters very much, but we've learned. And the Zoanthropes died, and we killed the Repentia in return, but it was far gone. But yeah, Repentia, very, very good. Maybe they'll see a nerf coming up soon, but yeah, so that was that game. Got demolished, had a good time. Again, he's a very good player, and I knew I had no chance, but it was what it was. And finally, game 3 was against Imperial Knights. So this was the ultimate Pacific Rim face-off. This was the kind of battle I was hoping I'd get into with all of my Knights. It was a 90-64 win. I'll talk about that in just a second. So he had 3 big Knights. 2 of them were dedicated pure shooting. One of them had the giant chainsword, Paladin, I believe. And he had 4 little Helverins, purely for shooting. Secondaries, I took Banners, Bring It Down, and Warp Ritual because I probably should have taken Psychic Interrogation because I didn't realize all 3 of his big knights were characters. I thought only one of them were. Knowing all 3 of them were, I probably should have changed that, but it all worked out in the end. So the important note here is it didn't come up in the first 2 games just by the way of things happening. I did not realize the Broodlord Synaptic Imperative was infantry only. Broodlord is probably one of my least used models, so I made an oopsie there, and it did impact the game, definitely, meaning all of my bugs, I played them as if, you know, the size has a 2-up and the barbed had a 1-up for the first round of shooting. And he went first, so he got to put the punish on me turn 1. He didn't kill any of the big bugs. He crippled 2 of them. He brought 2 of them down to about, I don't know, 2/3 of their health. Had I been playing that correctly, he might have been able to drop 1 of them, which, yes, would have definitely changed the game. So we realized that. I messed up. I apologize. You know, it happens. It wasn't, it was the last game of the day. None of us were playing for top table, so it wasn't the end of the world. The game still might have gone in my favor. It would have been a lot closer. It definitely would have been a 90-64. It probably would have been closer to like a 70-68. Really close game because I did have that whole game. One of my remaining Hierodules just sat on an objective for the last 3 turns, just sat there, shooting off his flamer, but really untouched, just chilling there. So it's hard to say because that change happened turn 1 because it would have changed the entire outcome or how it played out the entire game. So it happens. I felt really bad for messing it up because I do try and pride myself on knowing at least the Tyranid rules down really well. Some of the 40k general rules, I try and say I have those down well, but there's always something that surprises me. The Tyranid ones, I try and pride myself on knowing all of them. I messed that one up, so I own up to that one. Hey everyone, Editing Craig again. I realized I once again forgot to tell you how I actually did in the tournament. So quickly, I finished 4th overall with going 2-1 and 2nd overall in battle points. There were 3 people who were undefeated, so I ended up with 4th place there. Overall, good showing. Now back to the video. How did this list fare overall? So the Broodlord, I give an A. I know I don't bring them often, and I always talk about how they are a great choice, and he was awesome. Being able to forward deploy him, not only did we play that mission where you needed someone on a midfield objective in order to gain your CP, so that was awesome, but being able to forward deploy, go for Psychic Interrogation, and then just be able, with that forward deploy, to already be within psychic range of your opponent was just so nice. I didn't have to worry about it. And then he's good in melee, so if your opponent had, you know, other forward deploy things, they're probably not nearly as good as a Broodlord. I think out of all the forward deploy units in the game, Broodlord's up there as one of the most powerful, at least in melee. So yeah, he really threatened, made a bubble of, okay, you know, careful, stay away from him, while doing the psychic secondaries, which he's so perfect for. Neurothrope, don't have to talk about him. He's good as always. The Hormagaunts were great, just having some speed to put up banners. I don't think they ever killed anything in melee. Unfortunately, the way it worked out, they either just didn't do anything, or I used them as a screen to get charged instead of being able to charge. I would have loved for them to fight against the sisters. Would have been perfect, but he made those long bomb charges and just tagged out my buddies. Zoanthropes, we don't really have to talk to those. They talk about those. They did great, actually. They didn't do a ton of psychic damage in the game. Barring the night game, they did some good damage, and then just providing the invuln save. Maleceptor, haven't used the Maleceptor since it was nerfed, really. Maybe once or twice I have. Maleceptor is still great, still an awesome unit to include in your army. Being able to do those mortal wounds just so reliably, and it is a very durable monster that your opponent has to work with. So Love the Maliceptor. Parasite was fun again. Haven't used it a ton lately, so it's good to get it out on the table. Fun to just zip around, drop some banners and all sorts of things like that. Heavy support. Now the big question. The Scythe Hierodules, I'm going to give them a B+. And I think the only reason they get that B+ is because I was bringing 3 of them. So had you just been bringing 1, I don't think. Maybe I should have, that would drop down to a B-. But the fact that 3 of them were working together made their effectiveness a bit higher. The fact that they only have 6 attacks, yes, they do get to reroll 1s, which is nice, but there's no way to buff them, their hits anymore like you used to. You can give them the full reroll to wound, which is really nice. They can overwatch, which is really good. But just the 6 attacks, and they do big damage, but against Terminators, the 6 attacks is just not enough to deal with them, especially the Deathwing ones are really not enough. I wish they had some sort of slash attack like all the Tyranid Codex monsters do to do 2 damage. Maybe they get 2 attacks per. So instead of 6, they get 12 attacks, and they're all strength 8, AP -2, damage 2. I know they're not going to update the Forge World books, but if they do, he really needs it. And same with even more so on the Barbed Hierodule. It's 4 attacks like that at that profile is really piddly, and it's shooting, while it's a good volume of shots and a good strength, AP -2 and damage 2 is not good for a pseudo Titan anymore. I know he's not a Titan, he used to be, but still, the AP -2, damage 2 is not. If it's AP -3, damage 2, all right, now we're talking. But AP -2, damage 2, you go into Death Guard against these things, and it might kill 1, maybe 2 Plague Marines in shooting, and that's being nice. It's really only good at shooting other knights, non-armor contempt, big monsters is what it's still good at shooting at. If it goes up against something with armor contempt or damage reduction, it just suffers tremendously. The 3 mortal wounds, or D3 mortal wounds from Voracious Ammunition, was a nice touch. Really helped out with its shooting. It's just the loadout with Voracious Ammunition on this guy is 290 points. And for that, I would rather basically take 2 Carnifexes, kit out with Scything Talons and heavy venom cannons and enhanced senses and all those upgrades, because those ones don't bracket. They're better anti-tank shooting. They're better anti-horde melee because they'll get more attacks. They'll have equal AP, potentially higher AP with your high fleet and how you upgrade them. And yeah, I'd much rather take 2 Carnifexes over this thing. So unfortunately, it is what it is. Yes, this one's a little more durable with 18 wounds, but you can't hide this one. You can hide the Carnifexes. So yeah, they need glow ups. Where they were once our rising stars of our codex before we got our 9th edition codex, they are no longer in that state. So I kind of been rambling onto it, but into my conclusions. But yeah, so I already talked about the Broodlord is awesome. Even though there are many other HQs that are better, that doesn't make the Broodlord not good. And I do recommend him a lot because he's fun. Jormungandr, I do like the Jormungandr one. I said I haven't used it much, but it was really nice to have that -1 to hit built in, especially against those armies that just didn't have mass rerolls or didn't have mass +1s to hit. Making those big guns for some armies hitting on 4s, or in some cases 5s, was delicious. So, and I didn't even use the deep striking. I thought about deep striking one of the Hierodules, but I only had 1 CP to start, so probably shouldn't have. But it was an option, and I thought about it. Yeah, and the Hierodules need help. So that is my list. It was a fun army to play. I'm glad I did it. I always like to just throw things out there like this every once in a while. Maybe next time I will try something with mass horde. Maybe I'll just run at least 60 Hormagaunts, maybe 90 Termagants, some Tervagons, maybe slap a Hive Tyrant in there for something. But maybe I'll try that. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if you have some fun ski lists you want me to try and bring out. I was also trying deep striking Toxicrins. That was something I was talking with someone about, so I might try those as well for another time. So that's all I got. If you enjoyed this, do like and subscribe. Thank you everyone for supporting members. Thank you very much. Again, put in the comments if you have any other suggestions for some of these more meme lists I should try out. Try and make things that don't look like they should be good and turn them good. And yeah, so that's what I got. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you next time here at Maelstrom Gaming Studios.